Welcome to the Purpose and Profit Club podcast for nonprofit leaders, mission-driven creatives, and social entrepreneurs. Get ready to stop dreaming and start doing. Here, ideas become action. We prioritize purpose and profit. You ready? Let's go. We are celebrating the 100th episode today. I'm thrilled. I just can't even believe that it's already been a year and a half of the podcast and 100 episodes in. So today I'm going to share with you 10 of the lessons, 10 of the trends that I'm seeing that successful organizations, leaders, and social entrepreneurs really have in common. So this list of 10 lessons will be a huge guiding post for you as you go, okay, I'm ready for a revenue up level. I'm ready for a visibility up level. I'm ready to serve and see and increase our impact year over year. I want you to look at these 10 lessons and go, okay, where can I focus on leveling up using these lessons? But before we get into that, we're going to celebrate one of our amazing members inside the Purpose and Profit Club coaching program. This organization, at the time that I'm recording this, we haven't even finished the month. They already hit their revenue goal. They rocked an online event that was so successful that resulted in things they hadn't even imagined would come in revenue-wise. So here's what I mean. Oftentimes you'll run an online fundraiser, maybe an event, a gala, something, and you're thinking, how we will get our revenue will be through this one main source. Well, that's not what happened. They not only had that one main source, but they actually had a huge surge in monthly members come in, a huge surge that is reoccurring donations come in as really a collateral positive effect of this online event. So that happened. And they also got an annual sponsor. They didn't even know when they were planning the event. They didn't even have a plan to solicit annual sponsors. This turned into a $5,000 annual sponsor. So kudos to them. I'm so proud of the work that they've done. This is the work that we're doing inside the club. So whether you are doing one-to-one fundraising, whether you're running these online marketing, storytelling, fundraisers, whether you want to upgrade and re-engage lapsed donors or just get comfortable courageously asking for more, that's the work we do in the club. You can always visit the show notes for more information. All right, let's go over the 10 lessons I want to share with you today. So these 10 lessons are really centered around how to land more donors, more visibility, more super fans on and offline. Lesson number 1, scaling, aka revenue growth, requires partnerships. Now, how you decide to define partnerships will depend on your organization. So partnerships can be your social street team, which is my method of how I teach partnerships. Your social street team can be digital influencers. Those accounts, those foodie accounts, those lifestyle accounts that have hundreds of thousands of followers online, finding alignment with them. It may be social media ambassadors, volunteers, anyone who wants to be an advocate for your organization. It may be local businesses. This has been a huge way many organizations I've worked with have taken my method and partnered and seen exponential growth in their revenue. So it may be local businesses. It may be securing sponsorships. The point is, if you want to get to, let's say you're $500,000 and you want to get to the $1 million mark, or you're at $1 million and you want to get to $1.5 million, partnerships. Doing it siloed off where you're just coldly trying to acquire traffic, coldly trying to acquire new prospects is the slow way to do it. Instead, when you have a street team who is advocating, boosting up the visibility for your organization, but on their own channels, whether that's online or whether that's in person, it goes so much faster. And honestly, it feels better. Because it's kind of like having a group of friends, a group of community members. You feel like you have literally a team supporting you. All right. Lesson number 2, unwavering belief. Okay. Unwavering belief in your organization, in your goal, in your mission, in what you do, and more micro, unwavering belief in the thing you're working on. So let's say you're working on a summer event. Let's say you're working on a brand new email campaign that is leading into your monthly giving program or some sort of online fundraiser. There are two ways that I see a lot of organizations go about this campaign. One way is like, I hope it works. We need to get to our goal. We need this funding. The other way is unwavering belief, commitment of it's going to work. This is happening. This is happening. People want to help. People want to support this cause. You're really believing in it. Another way to think about this, as Mariah Cause has said before, is relentless optimism. Really going to bat for why it's going to work instead of going to bat as to why it's not going to work, right? That may seem like, well, of course I would go to bat for why it would work, but you'd be surprised when you really start being aware of your inner monologue and the people around you. This could be staffers, board members, et cetera, how they're thinking about your next fundraiser, how they're talking about it, right? We want to really align your thoughts with ones that are in belief. This is going to work. This is working versus, right? That nervousness. Okay. Another way to look at this is grit. I believe it's going to work. I'm really going to think on purpose, think thoughts that are positive, and really work towards building the grit that this is going to work. Lesson number 3. Now, when I was speaking at the Boys and Girls Club of America's national conference, we had time for a Q&A. And in the Q&A, one executive director had such a good share/question. And so we were talking about recurring giving. We were talking about email marketing and how, the two, peanut butter and jelly, right? And what she was saying was, for her, when she thinks about partnerships, when she thinks about social street teamers who can help get people into their monthly giving program, she historically would reach out to people that she wasn't directly personally connected with. So this could be colleagues, associations, etc., right? Neighborhood groups. She said one day her best friend goes, "How come you never asked me to join? How come you never asked me to join?" And it was such a ooh, right? Such a moment where her own best friend said, "You never asked me to join. Why? What's that about?" And let's go into her best friend's shoes. Her best friend's shoes is saying, "Wow, I see all the incredible work that Mary's doing. I mean, is this for me? Can I support her work? Well, gosh, she's never even asked me, so I guess not." Interesting, right? And what this executive director shared is she's like, and this is so normal. This is the default. She's like, "Well, I didn't want her to feel like she had to. I didn't want to bug her. I didn't want her to feel make it weird by asking her for money," right? Ugh. And instead, she made it weird by not asking. She made it weird by not, air quotes, bugging her. So you really want to think about, what if I believed, what if I had unwavering belief that my friends want to help? My friends want to help. It's crazy. If you just believed that thought, we talk about on the podcast, thoughts you want to think on purpose. If you believe that one thought, my friends want to help, what would you do? What would be your next step that you would take? What action would you take next? Because it would probably be different from what you did last week. Right? That one hits. That one hits. All right. Lesson number 4. Slow donor cultivation cycles are out. Slow donor cultivation cycles are dead. Okay. What I mean is this very old school way of fundraising, this very old school way of growing your organization, you can just ditch. You can just throw away that rule book, because that is a recipe for the slowest growth possible. And that's inside your organization. Outside your organization, your donors don't want it. They do not want to have to get a coffee meeting and then a follow-up email and then a handwritten thank you note and then a drip email and then a phone call and oh my God, can they help you today? Ask them. So really being willing to show yourself evidence and being willing to lean into a strategy that isn't slow will not only make your organization a lot of money, but it will actually make your donor and your donor prospect experience better. Okay. I'm the perfect example of this. I don't want to go through that long cultivation cycle. I don't want you to send me a lot of direct mail pieces. I don't want you to just nurture, ask, nurture, ask, right? No. So how else does this show up? This shows up in the fact that we are online more than ever before. We are tech forward as a world more than ever before. So if we take those two things, those two factors, and then we go, why are we trying to do it this slow way, right? Think about how much now you've moved to Zoom or Google Meets or any sort of teleconferencing just since 2020. I used to drive across town to meet my Atlanta-based clients. I don't do that anymore. I don't do that anymore, right? Why? When we could have a 15-minute Zoom, right? It's a best use of everybody's time, but there's probably some rule book out there that would say you need to have face-to-face, it needs to be in person, and you need to do it this way. No. So really saying to yourself, how can I increase their satisfaction in really recreating a donor cultivation cycle that feels good for us, feels good for them, and is way more scalable. It is so much more scalable too when you're not doing this like old school handshaking, kneading, blah, blah, blah. We don't want that. So that doesn't mean you ask them to get married on the first date, right? It doesn't mean you pop the question on the first date. It does mean that there is some nuance to it. This is what we teach inside the club. So if you want some help with that, I can walk you through that inside the club. But it does mean that it should not take 6 months, 1 year to upgrade a donor, to convert a donor, no. Sponsor, same thing. Number 5, marketing can be and should be easier than ever before. Similar to the previous one, and it doesn't take a long time for it to work. Okay. It doesn't take a long time for your marketing and ultimately your campaign to come in sync and work. So here's what I mean. There's an organization that is inside the club that I'm thinking of that basically they double their revenue every year. Huh? They're a newer organization. Not only have their subscriber rates, I think, tripled year over year, their website visits have doubled year over year. Their revenue is on track to at least double this year, right? Right? Why? Because they are showing up online. They are courageously creating partnerships and courageously creating relationships with funders in a way that is not this boring, slow cultivation cycle. And it's working. Boy, do they have a street team, right? Of vocal advocates just ready to raise money and awareness for their cause. That's what's next for them. So marketing should not be something that feels hard or antiquated. The way that I teach marketing is really using and leaning on this social street team method. So the core of your own internal marketing is all about stories that are the voice of you, not the ominous organization. Stories that are relatable. As Laura Belgray said on the podcast here, stories that are flawsome, stories that actually show your unique personality. Those are the stories we'll want to hear. And those are the stories that convert and get people to click the donate button. So you can tell those stories, and you should be telling those stories frequently over email. You can create very simple social media strategy and leave the rest to your social street team. And then the back end, tech-wise, if you ever need a tech recommendation, whether it's a fundraising tool, a CRM, something like that, make sure you send me a message because I feel like I've been in a demo for all of them. And I've been in the back end of so many of them. I'll tell you the ones I love. I'll tell you the ones to steer clear of. So just send me a message on that. But there are so many good tech solutions that not only reduce friction so that I can make a donation from my couch, but also create automations in a way that you do not have to be a tech expert. So literally in your sleep, someone's subscribing to your email list. Somebody is making a donation for the first time and you're nurturing them because you set up a welcome series one time. And your lapsed donors are going through a lapsed donor sequence. That can be automated too, you guys. Like it's these one-time lifts that there's now tech here for that is worth this one-time effort to create just to have it rocking and rolling in the background. That is literally getting days, hours, weeks, months of your life back. So fun. And I can help you with that if you ever have questions on that. All right. Number 6. Do you want to get your emails read and clicked? I've got something special for you. My brand new free guide, 10 winning email subject lines and 10 to ditch for good. I'll give you the secrets to create captivating subject lines that actually engage and inspire action. You want to do this before you launch your next campaign. Go to splendidcourses.com/10 to grab the free guide on me. Channeling the iron will of a child. Another way to say this is the organizations, the founders, the fundraisers, especially that really see exponential growth, have this grit or this iron will of motivation and determination that keeps forward momentum. So, for example, when my daughter was learning, she out of the blue was just like, I'm gonna figure out the monkey bars. I shared this story before on the podcast, but she could barely reach the monkey bar. She wasn't even 5 years old yet. And, she'd grab one, fall, grab two, fall. Initially then got through one circuit, but wanted to figure out how to go there and back without, falling or getting tired. She started to develop these calluses on her hands. She didn't even know what they were. I was like, oh, babe, those are calluses. Like your skin is literally reacting and getting stronger to help you out on these metal bars. So very, very quickly, she became just so determined and so hyper focused and so relentless at figuring this out, so high in belief, I'm going to figure it out. It's going to work, right? That she kind of nailed it very, very, very quickly. And then she had a fall off the monkey bars. It was one of those falls that landed us in the ER. We didn't know if it was broken or sprained. We got the x-ray. Gratefully, it was sprained. But they put her in a splint and she had to take a rest. She had to take a couple of weeks off. And that was a turning point for her where I said to myself, this may sour her whole, determination, her whole iron will on being a monkey bar master. And sure enough, when we took that splint off, boom, she ran straight back. Now she has up-leveled so high that she literally climbs to the top of the monkey bars and has like a squad meeting every day with her two friends that can also make it to the top. Now we bought her a pull-up bar at home. She's 5 years old. She can do 4 pull-ups in a row. It's like, what? Relentless. My husband jokes, she has an iron will. And how has that served her? It served her exponentially because she came to this goal. She believed she could do it. When she fell, when she hurt herself, she didn't make it mean. It was a total failure and it's never going to work. In fact, she just said, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to get back on, right? So children are such beautiful examples of this. And I do think that organizations who have founders and fundraisers and for-profits, by the way, who are well past the multi-million-dollar mark, they have this. They have this iron will. Lesson number 7, stop plugging leaks and go upstream instead. Now, Dan Heath wrote a book called Upstream, which really goes into this, but so many organizations are stuck troubleshooting at the very, very bottom. It is literally like plugging a leaky bucket. And every time you plug one leak, another one spurts out and another one spurts out here, right? And so you're constantly spending a lot of your time plugging these micro leaks instead of saying, we're going to press pause. We are going to invest in tech. We're going to invest in a coaching program. We're going to invest in skill building, whatever it is. Or we're actually going to look at our strategic plan and realize that plugging leaks is not the strategic plan. And we are going to go upstream to create an SOP, to create a process, to create a strategy, and stop doing this and start doing this instead. So in his book, Dan talks about how, I think it was Expedia or one of those travel booking sites. What they noticed is there was this like crazy large percentage of inquiries, customer tickets that were happening after a customer was booking something. And so their call center was just constantly fielding customer inquiries. And what they noticed was, okay, well, I guess we need more customer service representatives, right? Plugging leaks. That's plugging leaks. Instead of saying, what are the customers calling about? Why is it that within 24 hours of them booking, they are calling? Okay. What they realized was most customers were calling because they weren't getting an email with their itinerary. It was something like that. It was something that was like, oh, well, let's put in some code and an automation and something like that. Let's go upstream instead of just plugging leaks by hiring more customer service representatives, right? And it's really hard sometimes to see the forest through the trees to actually step back and go, what leaks are we plugging and where do we actually need to go upstream? So a coach can help you do that. A consultant can help you do that. Maybe even a board could help you do that. So you really want to say, where am I plugging leaks and where do I want to go upstream? Okay, lesson number 7, handling objections could be your superpower. So many fundraisers retreat when they hear the objection. An objection, by the way, is not a no. An objection is maybe the donor is like uncertain. And a really common objection is, let me get back to you. And when you hear, let me get back to you, what do? Do you say, okay, sounds good. Bye. Click. Do you say, all right, sounds good. And then I ask you the next week, hey, whatever happened in that meeting? And you say, Christina, they said, let me get back to you. So, they're going to get back with me. And no. That is an objection. That is an objection we actually want to handle and have a process for. That doesn't mean that you strong arm them and force them into a yes or a no in the meeting, but that you do follow up, that you do have a process of following up that feels aligned with your organization, feels aligned with your values, and feels good. And by the way, raises you more. So handling objections is not a problem. Handling objections doesn't make you freeze or retreat. In fact, you just realize that's just part of the process and it's not a problem, and you get really good at hearing them. You actually start to expect them. And then the best part is you learn that objections are just questions. Objections are just curiosities. Objections are often just confusion. They weren't really clear. They're not really sure. They need to know more information. An objection is just where you lean in and the conversation begins. Number 9, people are rooting for you and your cause. Imagine that. Imagine if you believed that. People are rooting for me and my cause. And if you thought that and then write to them like they are, what if you created content with that belief in place? So many times, especially in emails, this thought can be the exact opposite, and it can be really pervasive. It could be, people are going to think I'm bugging them. People are going to be tired of getting our emails. Our subscribers already know about our campaign, right? What is that loop for you that you think, that your staff thinks, that your board thinks? Okay, think about that. What do you think people think on your list? And when you're thinking that, you're writing to your worst customer instead of your best. Right? So if you believe people were rooting for you and your cause, which by the way, they are, because they signed up for your email list, they've donated multiple times. They care about your cause. They are rooting for you. They literally want to see it succeed, because if it succeeds, if you succeed, more people are impacted. If we can all agree on that, then what email would you write? What social post would you write? Who would you call? What video would you record? You with me? So if you believe people were rooting for you, what would you do differently? That's like a super thought, by the way. People are rooting for me. That's why I sign off my emails very often. I'm rooting for you, cheering you on. I literally am. My favorite emails are the ones where you hit reply and you tell me what you've created, celebrate a win with me. Those are the best ones. Hey, I just listened to this podcast and I just got the courage to make the call and it was a yes. Hey, I just attended your training and I booked a sponsor for the first time for this campaign. I recently got a response from somebody who said that they attended the training, they learned more in 3 days, and they applied what they learned in 3 days, and they felt like they had all year. That's what I want to see. We want to celebrate you. We want to celebrate your success. So really writing from that place, it changes the whole energy behind the stories, the words you choose, the stories you tell, where you put a call to action. Because if you think people are rooting for you, you don't put the call to action at the bottom. You don't say if you could donate, that would be okay. No, you lead with it. You put it more than once. You say it in a way that's unapologetic. Okay. Number 10, final lesson to land more donors, more super fans, to have an epic growth year. Optimize your mindset and success will follow. Optimize your mindset and success will follow. If you get your mindset on board, everything else becomes so much easier. If you get your beliefs on board, if you shift from it's not going to work to it's going to work, if you shift from, I don't know, I have a unwavering belief to unwavering belief. And when the wobbles come in, because the wobbles do, no one is 100% in belief all the time. But if you can be in belief at least half the time, you will have this superpower in growth. So really working on your mindset gets you in the room to courageously ask for more, gets you in the room when somebody says, I don't think so, to where you're tell me more about that. Tell me more. I want to know. Give me feedback. You start to realize the feedback is just data. The feedback is just a way for you to improve the pitch. Optimize your mindset and success will follow. When I was at a conference recently and I had the chance, so this was the Boys and Girls Club conference, and I'm literally going down the escalator and I'm a stare in front of me. I'm that's Al Roker. That's Al Roker, Mr. Today Show, right? Mr. Weatherman, Al Roker. Like, how fun would it be to get my picture taken with him? So I could have one fork in the road that's like, don't bother him. He's going to say, no, you don't really need that picture anyway. What's the matter? Or I can just be like, this would be so fun. Let's go. So boom, snapped a picture with him. He was so nice. He was so kind. He had no handlers or anything like that. It's just a regular dude. So fun. So fun. Now, I've also been on the receiving end of that where I haven't made the ask, where I haven't felt, whether it's a celebrity or whether it's just putting yourself out there and making the introduction or asking for doing the hard thing with your prospect or in a meeting, right? Where you're like, you just retreat, right? So that's the mindset piece. The mindset piece is the secret to your revenue growth, really optimizing your mindset. And that's why I've incorporated it in every single aspect of what I do in my program. Like, it's part of the club for that reason, because you have the templates, you have the tools, but the coaching, that's what gets you into daring action. Daring action makes you money. Daring action makes sure that you have those partnerships. So you're not doing it alone. And so it feels good. And so at the end of the day, you're not crashing on the couch going, that was a train wreck. Instead, you're crashing on the couch going, I did that. And you're texting your friend, I did that. You're celebrating in our Facebook group. You're like, look what I did, right? That's what I want to see for you. So really working on your mindset, and you can interpret mindset however you want. It can be woo woo, and you can be into self-development like I am, or it can't, if that's not your speed, really just saying like, what are some thoughts that I'm thinking that are unhelpful? And what are some beliefs I could try on or take on that don't feel like I'm carrying around this like heavy cloak, right? That don't feel so heavy, that don't feel so that don't feel so isolating, right? Or don't feel so hard. A lot of times organizations come with this mindset and this belief system that makes the entire process so hard. And if there's one thing you leave with today, I just want to offer, like, it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be heavy and hard. The people you serve, the cause you have, may feel heavy and hard. And that very much could be true. Like, so many organizations are doing deep, heroic, hard work, and it feels hard. I know that I've ended calls where I'm like, well, I need to cry now, right? Where it's like, it doesn't mean it's not emotional, but going through this process of fundraising, going through this process of getting more donors, supporters, influencers in your pipeline, that's the part that doesn't have to feel punitive. It doesn't have to feel grinding. It doesn't have to feel hard, right? And so it's like bridging the gap between those hard conversations you are having on like the program side, telling those stories in a way that really connects with your audience, and then practicing that inner kind of self-kindness, giving yourself a soft place to land. That's how we end burnout. That's how we end churn in this sector. So, big question. After hearing those 10 lessons, ask yourself, if I believed these 10 takeaways, these 10 lessons, what would I do differently? Right? If you had that unwavering belief, if you believe that slow donor cultivation cycles were totally out, you didn't need to do that. If you were willing to channel a little bit of that iron will, if you believe people were rooting for you, truly, what calls would you make? Who would you reach out to? Who would you ask? Who would you ask again? Who would you ask again after that? Right? And even if you just believe a few of those, what would be differently? What would happen differently? What would be the result of that? Because that's your growth. And if it feels overwhelming right now, totally fine. Pick one. Just pick one that felt the most resonant, where you're like, all right, she's onto something. Let me work on that. Pick that one and really work on creating that as like part of your practice. Maybe you want to journal at the beginning of the day. Maybe you just want to write it down on a to-do list where you're just saying, people are rooting for me. Right? Maybe it's just like a screensaver on your desktop, like, or on your phone or something like that. Really going to take the extra 5 minutes to really cultivate that mindset will be a game changer. If you need help with this is the work we do in the club. So you can click the link in the show notes to find out more. And as always, you're always welcome to book a 20-minute call with me to figure out if it's the right place for you. All right. I am cheering you on, and I'll see you next time. Hey, high achiever. I know your sights are set on ambitious, world-changing goals. In the Purpose and Profit Club group coaching program, you can get the support, motivation, and strategy to accelerate your impact. I like to say it's where the inner work meets big impact and big funding. Go to splendidcourses.com/waitlist and you will be first to be notified when we open up doors, and you'll get special bonuses when you join our waitlist. See you inside. Think you've reached out to everyone in your network? Are you out of ideas to get noticed and get funded? I hear you. That's why I'm giving you a chance to steal my prospect list. Yes, you can generate leads for your nonprofit or impact-driven business. Grab my mini training and list delivered to your inbox instantly. Go to splendidcourses.com/prospect.